Hello, good morning. May sound po ba? Hello, good morning, grade 9. Okay, good. Standby lang po muna, no? So, time check, 9:20. So, by 9:30, we're going to start our class. So, as you can see in our presentation, so our topics for today are quadratic inequalities and quadratic functions. So, standby po muna. Good morning again, grade 9. So let me check muna kung naririnig po ako. May sound po ba? And then if there's sound, so we can already start. Okay, good. So for today, so we're going to talk about quadratic inequalities and quadratic functions. So let's see the objectives. So what I need to know. So the first one is illustrate quadratic inequality. So you should know how to illustrate so that alam nyo kung ano yung itsura ng quadratic inequality. So next one is to solve quadratic inequality. So you should know also how to solve quadratic inequality. And then after solving the quadratic inequality, so we have to graph the solution set of a quadratic inequality. And then we're going to proceed to quadratic function. So we're going to illustrate and identify what quadratic function is. Then we're going to transform quadratic function into general form or standard form. Then represent quadratic function using table of values, graph, and equation. So here in this part, so we're going to identify kung ang given a quadratic function showing the table of values, and then kailan natin masasabi na ang graph ay quadratic function. And of course, as an equation. So next, so here we have the quadratic inequality. Excuse me. So let's define first what is quadratic inequality. So quadratic inequality is a mathematical statement in second degree that uses inequality sign. Now, so to make it simpler, um, i-compare natin to sa quadratic equation. So in quadratic equation, ang pinagkaiba lang nito sa quadratic inequality, instead of using equal sign sa quadratic equation, in quadratic inequality, we use inequality symbol. Pero pareho silang quadratic, okay? So ibig sabihin, in this given, ang pinakamataas pa rin na exponent ng variable ay 2. So as you can see in our example. So ano ba yung mga inequality symbol na ginagamit natin? So papalitan lang yung equal sign and then gagamitin ay inequality symbol so to make it quadratic inequality. So yung mga inequality symbol, so as you can see here, so ginagamitan niya ng greater than and then less than, pwede ring greater than or equal, or it could be less than or equal. So later on, i-review natin kung ano yung pagkakaiba-iba ng mga symbol na yan. So here in our box, makikita nyo, ito po yung example ng quadratic inequality. So for example, here we have ax squared plus bx plus c greater than or is greater than 0. So if you're going to read the first one, that is greater than 0. So next, okay. So yung nakikita niyo pong equation or inequality here, ayan po ay naka-standard form na. So if you still remember in quadratic equation, so that's why it is important na alam niyo pa rin kung ano yung lesson natin about quadratic equation kasi still related pa rin ang quadratic inequality dito. So we can still compare kung ano yung meron sa quadratic inequality at kung anong meron sa quadratic equation. So just like in quadratic equation, in quadratic inequality, so we also have standard form. So if you still remember, ang standard form natin, of course, it should be or the right side must be 0 and the left side must be arranged from highest to lowest degree. So kung makikita nyo dyan, yung left side ay ax squared. Okay. So hindi daw kita yung slide. Okay. So I think that's fine. So okay na po ba yung slide? Rafael? So we can continue. So I think okay na yung slide. Okay, so let's continue. So as I was saying, no, um, so the left side is arranged from highest to lowest degree. So kung mapapansin nyo dyan, so nauna yung squared, and then after that followed by x only. So 1 lang yung exponent dyan. And then of course, the last term, so wala na siyang x. And then ang pinagkaiba nga lang, so we use inequality symbol. So ganun pa rin yung standard form. Ang pinagkaiba, we use inequality symbol. Okay, here. So this is an example of quadratic inequality. So we have x squared minus 6x minus 16. So if you're going to read that, that is less than or equal to 0. So another example is 2x squared minus 11x plus 12 is greater than 0. I think you are already familiar with this. Siguro ang magiging concern lang natin dito is yung symbol. I think dyan malilito yung iba about greater than, less than. Then we have also x squared minus 4x is greater than negative 3. So this is also an quadratic inequality. So let's proceed. Okay, here. I-try natin i-specify yung mga symbol, no? So let's try to identify kung alin ba dyan ang greater than, less than, greater than, or equal. So para when we move on to the next part, so alam nyo na kung ano yung mga tinutukoy natin na greater than, less than, kasi napakahalaga po niyan. So the first one here, so the first symbol, yung may encircle po. So if you're going to take a look, so that is greater than. Okay? So that is greater than. So next one naman, yung nasa kanan, yung pangalawang may encircle. So meron siyang guhit sa ilalim, no? But it's almost the same with the first example. Kapag may guhit po sa ilalim, ang ibig sabihin po niyan, so dadagdagan po natin ng equal. So that is greater than or equal. So kanina greater than lang. So same lang naman yung itsura. But ang pinagkaiba nito, yung pangalawa nating symbol, meron na siyang guhit sa ilalim. So pag may guhit na sa ilalim, so that is greater than or equal. So next. So the next symbol, so kabaliktaran naman to nung greater than. So if you're going to take a look at the arrow, yung parang pinaka-point niya, so naka-point siya sa kaliwa. So kapag ganyan po yung given, so that is less than. And of course, kapag meron siyang guhit na sa ilalim, just like the last given, so that is already less than or equal. Okay. So merong mas madaling paraan, no? So to identify kung less than or equal, so you just try to, do it in your hands. So ganito po, no? So ganyan. So of course, ang clue dito, so para malaman, so this looks like less than or equal, but which is which? So para mas madaling malaman, nasaan ang left side? Okay, so I hope the others are also doing this. So kung nasan yung left side nyo, which is this, ito yung left side, so naka-mirror image lang ako, no? So this is the left side. Kung nasan yung left side, so yung initial ay L, left, so that is less than. Okay? So again, kung nasan yung left side, so yun yung less than. Left side, less than. And of course, otherwise, yung right side nyo is the greater than part. Okay? So yun po yung madaling way. Kasi kung yung iba ay nalilito, ano ba yung less than, ano yung greater than? So try to do it in your hands. And then kung ano yung left side hand nyo while doing the symbol, so that is the less than part. Okay? So let's proceed. Now, so we're going to plot points in the number line because later on, after solving the quadratic inequality, we're going to graph. Okay? Pag sinabi natin plotting of points, ito yung graphing. Okay? So here we have the number line. So pag number line, so straight line lang siya wherein labeled siya ng mga integers, no? So we have 0 as our like center, and then yung right side natin is the positive part, and then yung left side natin is the negative part. So let's try first the first given, itong may negative 3. Sige nga, I will ask you a question and I hope you will get the correct answer. So first given natin, ano yung symbol na ginamit dyan? Less than or greater than? Or greater than or equal or less than or equal? So let us see kung sino pong makakuha ng tamang sagot. Yung una pong given, yung may negative 3. Anong symbol ang ginamit dyan? So isa pa lang nakikita ko. Ayun, may nagsagot ng greater than, may nagsagot ng less than. Nagpalit bigla si Rafael. No? Okay. So the answer here is greater than. So again, kung nalilito nga kayo, so try doing it in your hands, no? So gaganyan lang kayo. And then kung nasaan yung itsura ng symbol, so yun yun. Kung nasa left side, so less than. Kung nasa right side, greater than. So ito po ay greater than. So if we're going to read this is x is greater than negative 3. So wala po siyang equal, no? Kasi wala naman siyang guhit sa ilalim. So if we're going to plot that, so the first thing we're going to do is identify muna natin or determine. Let's try to determine first kung nasan yung negative 3. Of course, negative 3 is in the left side of the number line. Nasa left side ng 0, no? So that is negative 3. Okay? Ngayon, in plotting, meron po tayong tinatawag na hollowed at meron ding shaded. No? Yung circle natin, kung nakikita nyo dyan, kapag nagplot tayo, dalawa ang pwedeng maging itsura niyan nung circle. Minsan, pwedeng tawag dito, shaded rather. Shaded po yan minsan. At kapag minsan naman ay hollowed. Ngayon, hollowed po or ibig sabihin, bilog lang siya, wala siyang shade. Pag hollowed or walang shade, ibig sabihin, yung given na symbol or inequality ay walang equal sign. Okay? Or walang guhit sa ilalim. So, kung mapapansin nyo po, ang nakalagay lang dyan ay greater than negative 3. So, wala siyang nakalagay na greater than or equal. Tama? So, kung greater than lang, so bilog lang siya, walang shade yung loob. Okay? So, nandito yung negative 3. Now, so ngayon, saan natin ipopoint yung arrow? Ipopoint ba natin yan dito sa kaliwa or ipopoint natin sa kanan? Of course, it depends on the kind of inequality that you are using. Since we use here greater than, so ibig sabihin dapat mas malaki, no? So if we're going to understand that, yung x daw dapat ay mas malaki sa negative 3. So that's why it is x is greater than negative 3. So it should point to the right or going to the right. So yan po yung magiging graph niyan. Okay, papuntang kanan. So ibig sabihin, papuntang kanan, so lahat ng values papuntang kanan ng negative 3. So yun yung negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Kasi nga, greater than negative 3. Okay, next. So how about the next given? So kabaliktaran naman yan nung una nating example. So that is less than. Okay? Less than. So when we plot the point, no, itong pangalawa, x is less than 2. So ang una nga nating gagawin, i-identify muna natin kung nasaan yung number. So ang given ay 2, no? So determine 2 in the number line. So ito po yan. Okay, ngayon, ang pinagkaiba naman yan, less than 2. So if we're going to, if we will try to understand that, ang ibig sabihin yan, ang x value dapat ay mas mababa sa 2. So ano ba yung mas mababa sa 2? 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, so on and so forth. So, if you're going to take a look, kapag less than, papunta siyang kaliwa. Okay? So, the arrow should point towards left. So, yun po. So, yan po ang graph ng x is less than 2. Ito po, no? So ang graph niyan ay x is less than 2. So again, yung ating bilog ay hollowed, no? Hindi pa siya shaded kasi wala pa siyang equal. So let's try the third one. So ano naman ang ano? Okay, good, Jodel. So papuntang left. Tama 'yon. So ano naman yung symbol na ginamit natin dun sa pangatlo, yung may 1. Ito, yung pinopoint ng arrow ko. So anong symbol yan ng inequality? So take note, meron na po yung guhit sa ilalim, ha? So ibig sabihin may karagdagang ibig sabihin yan. Okay, Denise Gatdula, ang una i-mention ko, no? I-mention natin yung pinakauna makuha ng tamang sagot para naman ma-acknowledge agad. Sino ba yung una? Si Princess Lorraine De Castro, yung unang nakakuha ng tamang sagot. So ang tamang sagot dito, this is greater than or equal. So kasama na po yung word na equal, okay? Kasi meron na siyang guhit sa ilalim. So ibig sabihin, pag sinabing x is greater than or equal to 1, ibig sabihin kasama yung 1. Okay, kasama yung 1 dun sa tinutukoy. So kapag sinabing x is greater than or equal to 1, yan ay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. Kapag sinabi namang x is greater than 1, ibig sabihin hindi kasama yung 1. Kasi nga, pag sinabing x is greater than 1 lang, so mas malaki dapat sa 1. So see the difference, no? So kapag x is greater than or equal to 1, so yan ay kasama ang 1. So let's determine kung nasaan ang 1. Ang 1 ay ito. Okay? So yan po. Now, if you're going to observe, iba yung nangyari, no? Dun sa ating dun sa ating graph or plotting ng points, shaded. 'Di ba? Shaded na siya, shaded yung bilog. Kasi nga, sabi ko nga kanina, dalawa yung pwedeng maging possible na plotting natin dyan. Pwedeng hollowed or yung walang shade or pwede ring shaded. Kapag shaded, meron na siyang equal. Okay? So x is greater than or equal to 1, so dapat shaded. And of course, dahil greater than yan, so towards right, papuntang kanan po ang ating graph. Okay? So I hope nare-refresh na kayo kasi I think ginawa niyo na to before. So next one. So last one. So that is less than or equal to 0. Okay? So x is less than or equal to 0. Ibig sabihin yan, ang x daw ay 0 or mas mababa pa sa 0. So again, meron siyang equal signs. If we're going to determine kung nasaan yung 0 dun sa ating number line, so it is right here. And if you're going to take a look, again, shaded. Okay, shaded po yan. Kasi nga, meron siyang guhit sa ilalim or ang ating given ay less than or equal. And since less than or equal yan, okay, good, Denise Gatdula and Juan Eli, Arlan Kuyagbo. So madami naman nakakuha ng tamang sagot and may mga active din. I hope the others will do the same. Sana po active din yung iba. Para mabanggit din naman kayo sa ating live, no? Okay. So Kent Ugali, Gerald Fernandez, Trisha Balingasa. So tama, yan ay less than or equal. And then of course, saan siya magpo-point? Papuntang kanan ba or papuntang kaliwa? Let's see. Papuntang kanan or papuntang kaliwa? Kasi less than or equal yan eh. Saan magpo-point ang ating arrow? Okay, left, kaliwa. Okay? So, very good. So, it should point or towards left. So, yan, marunong na kayong mag-plot. Okay? Marunong na kayong mag-plot. So, later on, gagawin natin yan. So, good job or good job. So, proceed na po tayo. Now, doon na tayo sa main part ng ating quadratic inequality. So, we're going to solve. Okay? So yun naman yung ating major part ng topic. So solving quadratic inequality. So how to solve quadratic inequality? Okay, ngayon kung kayo ay natutong mag-solve ng quadratic equation at hanggang ngayon ay confident kayo na marunong pa rin kayo mag-solve ng quadratic equation, so madali na ito sa inyo. Kasi kung paano tayo nagsasolve ng quadratic equation, same thing lang kung paano nagsasolve ng quadratic inequality. Meron lang konting difference dun sa pinakahuling part ng ating solving. Okay? Now, so our first example, we have here x squared plus 7x plus 12 is greater than 0. Ngayon, so we're going to analyze first the given inequality. Kung ano ba ang pwede nating gamitin na tawag dito na way on solving quadratic inequality. So if you still remember, meron tayong iba't ibang way kung paano mag-solve ng quadratic equation. So I'm just going to give a refresher, no? So the first one is solving by extracting the square root. So I hope you still know that. So the second one is by factoring. The third one is by completing the square, and the last one is by using the quadratic formula. Now here, ang gagamitin natin ditong way on solving quadratic inequality is factoring. But before that, I'm going to show you the steps, no, in solving quadratic inequality, so you will be guided. So ito po yung ating steps in solving quadratic inequality. So meron tayong apat lang, okay? So typographical error. Si Sir Math teacher hindi marunong magbilang. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4, okay? Now, so the first step na gagawin nyo is change the given into equation. So for the meantime lang naman yun, no? Hindi naman ibig sabihin na i-change natin sa equation o yun is yun na talaga all throughout. So gagawin natin siyang equation para madali nating isolve, okay? So the second one, kapag na-change na natin into equation, we're going to solve for inequality. Okay? And then we're going to consider that as an equation. And then number 3, change the symbol to inequality and then test the inequality. Ngayon, itong number 3 yung yung ating pinaka turning point ng solving quadratic inequality, yung testing the inequality. Okay? And then the last one is writing the solution set. Okay, pumpisahan na natin para makuha nyo na agad kung ano yung ibig kong sabihin. So yung number 1, change into equation, ganito po yan. Okay? So binago ko lang yung symbol. Instead of using greater than, binago ko muna siya. For the meantime, ginawa ko siyang equal sign. Excuse me. Kasi kapag naka-equal sign siya, so mas madali natin siyang masasolve or mas madali siyang tingnan. So quadratic equation na siya. Ngayon, so we can already solve. So number 2 na po tayo, solve for the inequality. So let's consider this as an equation. So paano ba tayo magsasolve? So pwede natin itong isolve by factoring. So I hope alam pa kung paano mag-factor. So paano tayo nagpa-factor ng trinomial? Trinomial po yan. So tatlong terms. So still remember the sum and product. Yung ginawa natin yan before dun sa mga umattend. Okay. So the first part of factoring is gagawa muna tayo ng template. I hope naalala pa yung turo ko, no? So gagawa po tayo ng template. So gagawa tayo ng dalawang quantity dyan. So meron tayong dalawang quantity and then let's rewrite the variable. Kung ano yung variable na ginamit. Since ang ginamit nating variable is x, so yun po ang ilalagay natin. Ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo or kung maaalala nyo, so meron pang nawawala dyan, no? So yung mga nawawala dyan, yan yung ilalagay or dyan natin ilalagay yung number. Ang tanong, ano po ang ilalagay nating number? So, gamitin natin yung technique ng sum and product. So, yung 7, yung sum, may nakasagot na agad. Very good. But of course, I hope the others will also get, no? So, yung 7 yung sum, and then yung 12 yung product. Sum and product. So, tatanungin ko kayo, so, ano yung dalawang number na kapag pinag-add natin ay 7? At the same time, those two numbers, pag pinag-multiply natin ay 12. So, na-spoil na agad, no? So, good. So, good, Rafael Tabud, Princess Margaret Jeminos, Art Cads, Daniel Silva, Carlos Reynaldo Cisnorio, okay, and then Arlan Cuyagbo. So, the answer here is 3 and 4, no? So paano naging 3 and 4? Sabi ko sum ay 7 and then ang product ay 12. So 3 plus 4 is 7 and 3 times 4 is 12. Okay? So tama po yung dalawang number. So anong gagawin natin dun sa dalawang number na yan? So i-input na natin yan doon sa ating template. So we have plus 3 and then we have plus 4. Okay? So dyan natin ilalagay yung number na nakuha natin kanina. Okay, so next. So we are done factoring, okay? Now we're going to solve. Paano tayo magsasolve nito? Naalala pa kaya? Sino kayang nakaalala pa kung ano yung kasunod na gagawin dyan? So after factoring, na-factor na natin completely yung given. So ano na ang kasunod dyan? May nakaalala pa kaya? Baka may mga notes kayo dyan. Yung ihahati. So Rafael, ano yun? Be specific. So you have an idea, no? Okay. Ngayon, what we're going to do, paghiwalay natin yung x plus 3 and then x plus 4. And then we're going to equate that to 0. Siguro yun yung ibig sabihin ni Rafael. So hatiin natin siya and then, okay, mamaya do it to the right. Di talaga makalimutan yun, no? So yung do it to the right or do it to the left, do it to the right. FOIL method, we're not going to use the FOIL method. Kasi pag nag-FOIL method tayo, babalik tayo dito. So paikot-ikot lang, no? So dito tayo babalik. So hindi po tayo gagamit ng FOIL method. Ayan, ang dami na, iba't iba na ang lumalabas na sagot ninyo. Okay, very good si Margaret, Princess Margaret Heminos. Tingnan niyo po yung sagot niya, yung comment niya. Yan po ang tamang sagot. So we're going to equate to 0. So we will have here x plus 3 equal to 0 and then x plus 4 equal to 0. So we're equate to 0. Kasi pag in-equate natin sa 0 yan, so dyan na mag-start yung actual solving. No? Dyan natin ma-isolate yung x. Or yung tinatawag nating the variable must be alone. Okay? So unahin natin yung x plus 3. Yung tamang procedure nito, of course, we're going to do kailangan natin ma-cancel yung 3, di ba? So we have to subtract 3 both sides. Dito na papasok yung sinasabi nating do it to the left, do it to the right. Okay? Ngayon, bakit tayo nag-minus 3? Nag-minus 3 tayo para ma-cancel natin yung plus 3. Okay? So kasi kung magma-minus 3 tayo, magiging 0 na yan. At kapag 0 na yan, so alone na yung ating variable. But later on, of course, pasisimplihin natin yan, no? Kasi pinapakita ko lang yung proper procedure. So nag-minus 3 tayo sa kaliwa. And then of course, we're going to subtract 3 also on the right side. Do it to the left, do it to the right. I think you will not forget that anymore, no? Kahit mag-senior high or college. So kumbaga naging part na yan ng ng solving. Okay, now, so after that, so we can cancel already 3 minus 3. And with that, magiging alone na yung ating x. And of course, yung right side natin, 0 minus 3 lang naman yan. So therefore, so that will be negative 3. So the answer here is negative 3. Or doon naman tayo sa shortcut, no? Doon tayo sa shortcut. Ngayon, kapag x plus 3, di ba ang given natin ay x plus 3 equal to 0. Babaliktarin nyo lang yung sign. Kung x plus 3 yan, plus 3, therefore, ang value ng x ay negative 3. So babaliktarin nyo lang po, okay? And then the last one, yung x plus 4 naman, so same thing with the first one. So we're going to subtract 4 both sides. So do it to the left, do it to the right. And then cancel 4 minus 4. So the answer here is negative 4. So yung shortcut, x plus 4 equals to 0 plus 4 ang given. So therefore ang ating sagot ay x is equal to negative 4. Babaliktarin lang po. Okay. So now, we are done solving. So we're done with number 2. Meron na tayong value, negative 3 and then negative 4. But hindi dyan po natatapos. Dahil inequality ang ating pinag-uusapan. Okay? So here. So meron tayong number line. So balik tayo dun sa ating given x squared plus 7x plus 12 is greater than 0. Okay, now. So ipa-plot na natin yung solution, okay? Or i-change na natin ulit into inequality and then itetest natin yung interval or yung ating nakuhang sagot. So we have -3 and then we have -4. Now, ang kasunod po natin gagawin, iterase natin nasan ba ang -3. So -3 is here. Okay, so nandyan po yung -3. And then yung -4, so yan po yung ating -4. Okay? So again, hindi tayo mag-i-stop dun sa sagot ng -3 at -4. Hindi po dun natatapos kasi nga inequality ang ating topic. So after natin i-trace yan, so you need to understand the number line, yung itsura ng number line, at kung ano yung mga numbers at quantity na nandyan. So here in the left, hinati natin kasi sa tatlo to eh. So nung naglagay tayo ng -3 at saka ng -4, nahati sa tatlo yan. So itong part na yan, yung may encircle, so that will be less than -4. Nakuha po yun. Kasi if you're going to analyze, yung may bilog dyan, ayan ay yung mga mas mababa sa -4. Kaya nga po naglagay tayo ng guhit para mas madali nating makita. So yan ay less than -4. Kasi kung makikita nyo, ang mga value dyan ay -5, -6, and then so on and so forth. So yan po ay less than -4. Now, ang kasunod naman ay yung nasa pagitan ng -3 at -4. So ano kaya ang ilalagay natin dyan? No? Paano pag nasa pagitan? So pag nasa pagitan ang ating yung area, so we can write x. So ganito po basahin yan ha. So mag-uumpisa ka dun sa gitna, yung x kasi yun yung variable. So x is greater than -4 but less than -3. Huwag pong malilito ha. So ulit. So ang yung may bilog, pagitan ng -3 and -4. So pagitan ng -3 and -4, try to imagine that. So ibig sabihin, ang x natin is greater than -4 but less than -3. So dahil nasa pagitan siya ng -3 at -4, so syempre ang ating x ay mas malaki sa -4 pero mas maliit sa -3. So next one. So the last area, yung pangatlong area is this part. So ano kaya yan? So ano naman kaya yan? Sino kayo makakuha ng sagot? Anong area naman yan? So yan ay lampas ng -3. O yun yung clue. Kung makikita nyo, lampas ng -3 yan, pakanan. O paano ba pagpapuntang kanan? Sino kaya ang makakuha ng sagot? Ano kaya ang inequality na gagamitin dyan? So kanina gumamit tayo ng x is less than -4. Tapos meron tayong x is greater than -4 and then less than -3. Ang kailangan po natin ay yung inequality. Very good. Princess Margaret Heminos. Very good, Anika Canubas. Yung kay Kylon, yes, greater than ang gagamitin. Tama rin yon. Okay. So yan po ay x is greater than -3. Kasi nga lumampas na siya ng -3 at papuntang kanan. 'Di ba? Try to understand that. So ibig sabihin, ang x natin is greater than -3. Okay, now na-plot na natin yung solution natin kanina. So meron tayong tatlo. Okay? X is less than -4. Then x is greater than -4 but less than -3. At yung pangatlo ay x is greater than -3. Now, ang kasunod natin gagawin dyan, we're going to test the interval. Pag sinabi nating test the interval, yan yung nasasakupan ng inequality. Okay? Now, so try natin yung una. Itetest natin and then ipapalit natin yan dito sa given kung totoo ba or tama yung makukuha natin. Okay? So ipapakita ko yung una para maintindihan ninyo. So yung una nating nakuha is x is less than -4. Ngayon, ang una nyong gagawin, you're going to assign a number less than -4. So magbigay nga ng number na less than -4. Yung pinakamalapit na lang na integer. Ano yung pinakamalapit na integer na less than -4? Ayun, nakuha agad ni Anika. -5, okay? So ang -5, o hindi po pwedeng -3. Kapag negative ang number, kapag mas maliit, mas malaki yung value. Ang -3 ay mas malaki sa -4. Uulitin ko. Ang -3 ay mas malaki sa -4. Tingnan niyo na lang sa number line. Ay no, mas nauna yung mas nauna yung -3, di ba? So ang sagot po diyan ay -5. Ang -5 po ay mas maliit ang value sa -4. Okay? So let's try -5. Yan, mag-assign tayo ng value. For example, ang x is -5. Okay? Ang kasunod natin gagawin dyan, papalitan natin yung given. Ito yung given natin. Okay? Yung x squared plus 7x plus 12 is greater than 0. So papalitan po natin yung ng -5 and then after that we're going to solve. Ite-test po natin. Okay? So yan po yung kalalabasan. So wag po malilito ha, yung x na variable, pinalitan lang po natin ng -5. So we have x squared. So ginawa lang nating -5 squared. And then we have plus 7x. Ginawa lang natin plus 7 times -5. And then i-copy lang natin yung plus 12 is greater than 0. So now we're going to simplify. So what is -5 squared? Okay, sige. Tanggalin ko muna yung cam para makita po ninyo. Ayan. So okay na? Okay, next. So we're going to simplify it one by one. So unahin muna natin yung -5 squared. Ano ba ang -5 squared? So that is the same with -5 times -5. So ano pong sagot doon? What is -5 squared? So again, what is -5 squared? Okay, so good. So kapag kumukuha pa po tayo ng squared, kahit negative yung given, it is always positive ang sagot, no? So -5 squared is positive 25. It will never be negative kapag kumukuha tayo ng squared. Okay, next. How about 7 times -5? I think madali lang naman yan. So 7 times -5, so that will be -35. So positive times negative is negative. So that's why we have -35. And then, i-copy lang natin yung plus 12 is greater than 0. Okay, so this time, sige hahayaan ko kayo, you can use calculator, no? So para mas mabilis yung ating pacing ng turo. So if you have cellphone, so pwede niyo po i-type yan sa cellphone niyo. What is 25 minus 35 plus 12? Ano po ang sagot diyan? 25 minus 35 plus 12. If you're going to do it manually, ang technique dyan, pagsamahin muna lahat ng positive, pagsamahin lahat ng negative. Then after that, pagsamahin nyo ulit yung positive at negative. So again, what is 25 minus 35 plus 12? So the answer here is 2. Okay, good. Daniel Silva and Blessy Collis. So now, yan, tingnan nyo po ha. Ang nakuha po natin ay 2 is greater than 0. So, itetest natin, di ba sabi ko itetest natin yung interval. So, totoo ba? So, tama po ba yan yung ating nakuha? Is 2 greater than 0? Ang 2 ba ay greater than 0? Yes or no? So, simple lang naman yan, no? So, the answer is yes. Okay? So, 2 is greater than 0. Ngayon, dahil na-test na natin na ang nakuha natin is 2 is greater than 0, ibig sabihin po, okay, tama po, no? Ibig sabihin po, yung una nating inequality na x is less than -4 ay tama. Okay, nakuha po ba yon? Ibig sabihin, yung x is less than -4 ay tama. Kasi nung tinest natin siya, nung nag-solve tayo, tama yung nakuha natin. Excuse me. Okay? So ganyan po mag-test ng inequality. Kasi hindi lahat ng nandito ay tama. Itetest po muna natin. So next. So ang una nating sagot is x is less than -4. I-check natin yung dalawa pa. So ang kasunod dyan, x is greater than -4 but less than -3. O magbigay nga ng number na greater than -4 but less than -3. May decimal yan. So doon tayo sa pinakamadaling may decimal. Mas malaki siya sa -4 pero mas maliit sa -3. Kindly give a number. Di pwedeng -2. Outside na yan, nasa labas na yan ng inequality. Ayun, nakuha ni Kylon Loresca. -3.5. Diba nasa pagitan ng -3 and -4. Okay, so now pwede kayong gumamit ng ano po ha, ng calculator kasi ang tinetest naman natin dito is the understanding about quadratic inequality. Okay, so -3.5 po ang tamang sagot. So yun kasi yung pinakamadali pag may 0.5. Okay, so let's try x is equal to -3.5 kasi yan yung nasasakupan nung x is greater than -4 and less than -3. So i-try natin to, itetest natin to, no? So tingnan natin kung solution din yung or kung sagot din itong inequality na to. So we're going to use again the equation or the inequality. So papalitan lang po natin ulit yung x, ginawa lang nating -3.5. So we have -3.5 squared plus 7, ito po yan ha, ito po ang given natin. Pinalitan lang natin yan ng 3.5. Okay, so after that, so we're going to simplify again. So what is -3.5 squared? Ano po ang sagot? -3.5 squared. Ano po kaya ang sagot dyan? Okay, the answer is 12.25. O hindi pwedeng 7 pinag-add. Paano ba nakukuha yung yung 3.5 squared? Multiply by itself, 'di ba? O you try in the calculator, -3.5 times -3.5. So ang answer po dyan ay 12.25. Again, positive po dapat. Okay? Next. So what is 7 times -3.5? Again, what is 7 times -3.5? So 7 times -3.5 is -24.5. So negative po ha. Kasi nga positive 7 times -3.5, the answer is negative. And then of course, we're just going to copy plus 12 is greater than 0. Okay, now on your calculator, so try combining all of this. 12.25 minus 24.5 plus 12. Ano po kaya ang sagot dyan? And then let's see, let's test or check kung yung sagot ay greater than 0. So ano po kaya ang final answer? Negative 0.25. Negative po. Yan. Negative 0.25. Okay now, o kayo na ang mag-decide. Okay? O you decide. Tama ba yan? Negative 0.25 is greater than 0. Tama po ba yan? Yes or no? Okay, no. Okay, good. Siyempre automatic no na yan kasi negative na yung given. Lahat ng negative ay mas mababa sa 0, di ba? So hindi pwedeng ang negative 0.25 ay greater than 0. So ibig sabihin, itong inequality na x is greater than -4 but less than -3, so hindi siya solution. So mali. So yan po yung ginagawa natin ngayon. Tinetest po natin. Dahil nung nag-solve tayo, lumabas ay -0.25 is greater than 0. Eh mali naman yun, di ba? Hindi naman totoo, okay? That is false. So ibig sabihin, yung ating pangalawang inequality na tinest ay mali. So hindi po yan sagot. So i-cross out na natin siya. Okay? So ganun po yung pagtetest. And then last one, let's try x is greater than -3. Okay? So ganun ulit ang gagawin natin. Itetest ulit natin. Ngayon kung tama yung lumabas, okay? So yung x is greater than -3 ay solution or tamang sagot. Pero kung mali yung huli nating part, katulad nitong sa pangalawa, -0.25 is greater than 0, so hindi naman yan totoo, i-cross out ulit natin tong greater than -3. Okay, now, magbigay ng number greater than -3. Yung pinakamalapit na integer na greater than -3. Tingnan nyo na lang yung number line. O ano ba ang kasunod dyan na mas malaki sa -3 na integer? Or here, ang pinakamadaling part pala dito is to assign 0, no? Okay? Kapag ganyan po, mag-assign tayo ng 0. Di ba ang 0 ay mas malaki sa -3? If we can assign 0, 0 ang gamitin natin. Bakit? Kasi kapag 0 yung given, napakadaling mag-solve. Kasi nga 0 lang. Okay? So this time, we're going to use 0. Kasi tama naman eh, ang 0 naman is greater than -3. Okay lang yan. Okay? So next, so we're going to replace again the value. So papalitan lang po natin yung x squared plus 7x plus 12. Palitan lang natin yung variable x ng 0. So that's why we have 0 squared plus 7 times 0 plus 12 is greater than 0. So mas madali, di ba? So we can just cancel, no? Ano ba ang 0 squared? So 0. Ang 7 times 0 ay 0. So ano na lang ang matitira dyan? So ang matitira na lang dyan ay 12. So, ang sagot natin dyan ay 12 is greater than 0. Tama ba? Kasi nga puro 0 lang din naman. Okay, now. So, is this true? 12 is greater than 0. So, tama yung kay Piolo, no? Karaig. So, 12 ang sagot. Is this true? 12 greater than 0. So, of course, yes. Tama, no? So dahil true yan, so again, same thing dun sa pinakauna nating ginawa. So ang x is greater than -3 is a solution or part of the solution set. So now we are done testing the interval. So tapos na tayo mag-test. So na-test na natin yung tatlo at yung isa nga ay hindi part. So paano tayo magsusulat ng solution set? So this is the solution set. Ito na yung pinaka-final part. Okay, so after this, we are done. Okay, solving quadratic inequality. So ano ba yung pinakahuli? So ang solution set natin is ganito po, no? Ilalagay natin is x is less than -4 or, don't forget to use the word or, okay? Yan po ang gagamitin nating word. Or x is greater than -3. So again, our solution set is x is less than -4 or x is greater than -3. Okay, makakahinga na. Ang haba, no? Medyo mahaba yung solving ng inequality. Kasi before sa quadratic inequation, once we have already the value of x, we're done. So here, hindi eh. Once we have the value of x, we still need to test. So ganun po yung inequality. Okay? So nakuha po ba? So I will give chance to other students to ask question before we proceed. May tanong po ba? So kung wala na, we can proceed to the next part. May tanong po ba? Okay, so mukhang wala naman. So I hope naintindihan po ng nakararami, kung hindi man lahat. Okay, next. So the next part, so hindi pa totally tapos, no? We are done with the solution set, but of course, we have to graph. Katulad ng ginawa natin kanina, we plot the points. So we're going to graph, okay, in the number line. Now, so the answer is x is less than negative 4 or x is greater than negative 3. So ang gagawin natin dito, so we're going to graph. Ngayon, ang sagot natin ay less than and greater than. So wala siyang equal, wala siyang guhit sa ilalim. So just like the first one, less than negative 4. So the first thing we need to do here is to determine kung nasan ba ang location ng negative 4. And negative 4 is here. Okay. So yan po yung negative 4. And if you're going to observe, hollowed or kumbaga walang shade yung ating circle kasi nga less than negative 4. Pag ang given or kapag ang graph ay hollowed, ibig sabihin hindi kasama yung negative 4. Okay, kasi nga less than negative 4. And then since less than negative 4 yan, ang point ng ating arrow is going to the left. Kasi nga less than, so going to the left. So that is the graph of x is less than negative 4. Ang kasunod naman is greater than negative 3. So nasan ba yung negative 3? So ang negative 3 is here also in the left side. So yun yung negative 3. And same with the first one, wala pong shade, no? Kasi nga ang given ay greater than. So dahil greater than yan, ang ating arrow is pointing towards right. So papunta pong kanan. So that is our graph. And that's it. Complete na po yung ating solving. So that is only first example. So we will have the second example para makuha nyo or yung mastery ng ating topic. So next one. Okay, here. So the first one is, or the next one is x squared plus 10x plus 16. So ano pong symbol yan? Sige nga po, try nga. Let me see in the comment section. Ano pong symbol yung ginamit dun sa ating pangalawang example? So again, ano pong symbol? Ayun. Less than. Very good. So less than. So ang sagot po dyan ay less than. Okay. So i-flash lang natin yung mga steps para guided kayo. So the first one is to change into equation. So katulad ng ginawa natin kanina. So we're going to change that into equation. So papalitan lang natin yung less than 0 ng equal to 0. So ganyan po. So instead of writing less than, gawin natin equal to 0 so we can solve. So number 2 is to solve for the inequality. So same thing dun sa una nating example. Okay, ano yung tanong ni Rafael? 32 po ba yung sunod ng x? What do you mean? Saang part yung tinatanong mo? Sige, balikan natin niya, Rafael, ha? So let's just proceed. So number 2, solve for the inequality. So ganun pa rin gagawin natin. We're going to factor x squared plus 10x plus 16. Let's factor. So una natin gagawin dyan. So we're going to create a template. So meron tayong template and then ang given na variable ay x. And then let's fill what is missing here. Merong nawawalang dalawang number dyan. So kaya may mga blanco. So of course, we will get that by using the sum and product technique, no? So ang sum natin ay 10. And then of course, the product is 16. Ayun, ang bilis. Ano po yung sagot dyan? So pag pinag-add mo ay 8 or 10 rather, and then kapag pinag-multiply mo ay 16, ano yung dalawang number? So the answer here is 8 and 2. Tama si Daniel Silva. Very good. Arlan Cuyagbo, very good. Columna, Jodelf, Anika, Ketchi, Trisha, Shena, very good. Aryan. So I'm just seeing the same persons, no, or the same students. I hope the others are active also, participating in our lesson. So the answer here is 8 and 2. So 8 plus 2 is 10 and 8 times 2 is 16. So those are the two correct numbers. Then after that, kapag nakuha na natin yung dalawang correct numbers, so we're just going to fill that or input that in our given template. So we have plus 8 and then we have plus 2. Pwede nang magkabaliktad dyan. Pwedeng plus 2, pwedeng plus 8. So pareho lang naman yun. Okay, ano po ang kasunod na gagawin? So what is the next step? After factoring, ano po ang kasunod natin gagawin? So equate to 0. O yan, naalala nyo na ha? Equate to 0. Very good, Anika. So we're going to equate that to 0. So hatiin lang natin. So we will have here x plus 8 equal to 0. Yun po yung ibig sabihin ng equate to 0. And then x plus 2 equal to 0. So what is the value of x now? So we're going to skip the procedure, no? Kasi alam nyo na yun. So what is the value of x? Para mas madali, dun tayo sa shortcut. So babalik ta rin nyo lang yung sign. Since plus 8 yan and plus 2, so ano magiging value ng x ngayon? Babalik ta rin lang po natin yung ating symbol or sign. Let me see in the comment section. Negative 8. Okay, and negative 2. So the answer here, so let's skip na. So the answer is negative 8 and negative 2. So once we have already the solution, we're done solving number 2. So we're going to proceed to number 3. Plot the solution in the number line and test the interval. So we have here the number line. In creating a number line, so pwede namang hindi 1, 2, 3 lagi, no? Pwede namang 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So basta tama yung interval, okay lang yun. So tama din to. Okay, so what we're going to do now, so we're going to trace kung nasan yung negative 8, and then we're going to create a line so that makakagawa tayo ng tatlong area, katulad ng ginawa natin kanina, yung may mga bilog. So negative 8 is here, and then negative 2 is here. Okay, so divided na siya into 3 areas, no? So yung pinakakaliwang part, so itong part na yan, so ano po kaya yan? Ano kayang inequality yan? So ang given natin, kung mapapansin nyo, less than 0, okay? So wala siyang guhit sa ilalim. So hindi rin tayo gagamit ng may guhit sa ilalim or yung may equal. Okay, anong inequality ang mabubuo natin dito sa area na to? Nasa left side siya ng negative 8. Greater than 8 ba? Pag greater than 8 yan, Anika, so papuntang kanan. Tama? Eh kung mapapansin nyo, yung bilog natin ay nasa kaliwa ng negative 8. Paano po kaya yan? Towards left side. Ayun, it should be less than, okay? Should be less than. So when you're answering, try to answer in a complete statement. Wag lang yung word na less than. Okay, so very good yung kay Daniel Silva. Dapat ganyan. At saka yung kay Princess. So x is less than negative 8. Very good, no? Kasi nakukuha nyo na. So we are done with the first area. Itetest natin mamaya yan. How about the next part or the next area? Yung pagitan ng negative 2 at ng negative 8. So ano po kaya yan? Pare-pareho lang naman yung magiging pattern natin dyan eh. Katulad lang din nung pinakauna nating example. Pagitan ng negative 2 at negative 8. So, if we're going to analyze, mas malaki siya sa negative 8, pero mas maliit siya sa negative 2. Yun yung area na may bilog ngayon, yung nasa gitna. Okay, so that will be, so yan po yung magiging sagot. X is greater than negative 8. And then x is less than negative 2. So tingnan niyo yung pattern, okay? So kung medyo nalilito talaga kayo, so yung pattern po. Hindi po pwedeng ayun. O tama yung kay Princess Margaret. X is greater than negative 8 but less than negative 2. So yan po yung kasunod. And then the last one, okay, so how about the last one? Mas madali na yung huli. So nasa right side ng negative 2. Nasa kanang part ng negative 2. Ano po kaya yan? So kung nasa kanang part, so that will be x is greater than negative 2. Kasi nga 'di ba kanan towards right eh. Pag towards left, so that is less than. Pag towards right, that is greater than. Okay, very good. So now we have already the three inequalities. Okay? So ang kasunod natin gagawin, we're going to test the interval. Katulad ng ginawa natin kanina. So let's start with x is less than negative 8. Ano ba ang mga number na less than negative 8? Yung pinakamalapit. Anong pinakamalapit na number na integer na less than negative 8? Mas mababa sa negative 8. So we have here negative 9, tama? So let's try negative 9. So again, i-replace lang natin yung negative 9 doon sa given na equation. Yung x squared plus 10x plus 16 para matest natin. And then that is less than 0. So it will look like this, no? So pinalitan lang natin. So it will become negative 9 squared and then plus 10 times negative 9 and then plus 16 is less than 0. Okay, so after that, we're going to simplify. So negative 9 squared, so that would be 81. Of course, 10 times negative 9, so that will be minus 90. And just copy, plus 16 is less than 0. Okay? So after that, we're going to simplify it more. So let's combine 81 minus 90 plus 16. So what is the answer here? 81 minus 90 plus 16. So the answer here is 7 is less than 0. So if you're going to solve 81 minus 90 plus 16, so that will be 7 is less than 0. Now, let's analyze. No? So ang 7 ba ay less than 0? Or if we're going to put that in a simpler language, ang 7 ba ay mas mababa sa 0? Diba? If we're going to use a simpler language eh. So obviously mali ito, no? 7 is less than 0. This is wrong. So therefore, ang x less than or is less than negative 8 ay mali. So nakukuha niyo na po ba yung ating topic? So ganyan po, no? So mali po yan. Kasi nga yung nakuha natin, nung tinest natin, mali. 7 less than 0, hindi naman totoo yun. So mali yung x is greater than or less than negative 8. Mali yung inequality na yun. Okay, next one. Yung pangalawa naman, x is greater than negative 8 but less than negative 2. Ano kaya, mag-assign tayo ng number. Let's try negative 5 para madali lang kasi pag by 5, mas madaling isolve. Tama naman, di ba? Ang negative 5 ay nasa pagitan ng negative 2 at negative 8. Okay? So we're going to replace again. So pinilitan lang natin, ginawa lang natin negative 5 squared plus 10 times negative 5. And then copy yung 16 is less than 0. And then simplify natin. So what is negative 5 squared? So negative 5 squared will be 25. And then 10 times negative 5, that is negative 50. And then copy lang yung plus 16 is less than 0. Okay, so you try. Okay, ano po ang sagot dyan? 25 minus 50 plus 16. Ano po kayang sagot? So try to combine all the numbers. 25 minus 50 plus 16. So the answer here is negative 9. Kinulang si Piolo Karaig. Tama si Anika, negative 9. Yan, tama. Princess Lorraine De Castro, Arlan Cuyagbo, So tama po, negative 9 is less than 0. Eunice, Angelica, so very good. Kent, very good. Now, the question is, tama po ba ito? Is negative 9 less than 0? Tama po ba yan? Is negative 9 less than 0? So the answer is, of course, yes. Kasi negative yan eh. So lahat ng negative numbers ay mas mababa sa 0. So therefore, dahil tama yan, tama din yung inequality natin. So itong inequality natin na x is greater than negative 8 and x or but less than negative 2. Okay? So ito yung ating solution set. Pero try pa rin natin yung pangatlo. Try natin yung pangatlo. So x is greater than negative 2. So x is greater than negative 2. So sakop niyan yung 0. Sabi ko nga kapag pwede nating i-assign yung 0, i-assign nyo na kasi napakadali kapag 0 yung number. So pwede dito ang 0, tama? X is equal to 0. So replace lang natin. So ginawa natin 0 squared plus 10 times 0 plus 16. So if we're going to simplify that, tanggalin mo na lahat ng may 0. Ang matitira na lang dyan ay yung 16. So 16 less than 0. So ay mali po. So that is false. Hindi po tama yan. So dahil mali yung 16 is less than 0, so therefore yung x is greater than negative 2 ay mali rin. And we are done. Okay? Now, the solution set na meron tayo ay yung pangalawa lang. So we have x is greater than negative 8 but less than negative 2. Okay, so magkadugtong yan. Hindi yan magkahiwalay. So now, so after that, we're going to graph. Okay, pag nag-graph tayo nito, kasi magkadikit siya eh. X is greater than negative 8 and less than or but less than negative 2. So isang graph lang to, hindi katulad nung kanina na may mga nadalawa yung ating graphing kasi magkahiwalay yun, di ba? X is greater or less than negative 4 or x is greater than negative 3. Di ba yun yung sagot natin kanina? So dalawa yung graph nun. But this one is different kasi magkadugtong talaga siya, magkakadikit yan. So x is greater than negative 8 but less than negative 2. So what we're going to do, same with the first example, i-identify muna natin or determine kung nasan yung negative 8 at negative 2. So negative 8 is here. So wala tayong ilalagay na arrow. Okay? Wala muna tayong ilalagay na arrow. Identify din natin yung negative 2. And negative 2 is here. Okay, now. So kung mapapansin nyo, hollowed ulit. So hindi siya shaded. Kasi nga hindi naman siya equal. Walang equal. Ang kasunod na gagawin natin dyan, so we're just going to connect. So we're just going to connect. Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, hindi naman siya towards left or towards right. Kasi nga nasa pagitan eh. If we're going to put this in a simpler language, yung mas madaling maintindihan, ang x daw, based on the solution set, ang x daw ay mas malaki sa negative 8, pero mas maliit sa negative 2. So therefore, nandito yan sa part na yan. Okay, nandito yan. Mas malaki sa negative 8, so going to the right yon, di ba? Pero mas maliit sa negative 2, so going to the left. So magsasalubong sila. So I hope naintindihan yon. So kaya ganito po yung ating solution set or yung graph. Okay, so next one. So we have the last example. So I hope this time talaga makukuha niyo na yung pagsasolve ng quadratic inequality. Okay. So we have here the next example. So ano po ang symbol na ginamit dyan? Ano po yung symbol na yan? So take note po, kung mapapansin nyo, meron na po siyang guhit sa ilalim. Ano po ang symbol na yan? Let me see in the comment section. Okay, very good. So this is greater than or equal. Very good. So greater than or equal. Okay. So ang kasunod na gagawin dito, so tingnan natin kung ano na-spoil na agad. So hindi ko na ipapakita yung step ha. So ano ang kasunod na gagawin dito? So let's check kung nakuha niyo na ba talaga yung mga steps. So dahil pangatlo na rin naman to, so I think naintindihan nyo na. What is the next part of solving? Anong unang gagawin dito? So we're going to change this into equation, right? So we're going to change this into equation. So papalitan. Okay, very good, Carlos, Reynaldo Molina, Cisnorio. So instead of writing the symbol greater than or equal to 0, so papalitan po natin ng equal to 0. So change into equation. And then after that, solve the equation. So factoring po ulit yan, no? So factoring ulit. So we're going to create a template, same with what we did a while ago. And then of course, there are blanks here or missing parts. So gagamitan ulit natin ang sum and product technique. Ang sum dito, paano yan? Walang number. Pag wala pong number, ibig sabihin ang katabi ng variable ay 1. Automatic po yun. But specifically, dahil minus x yan, ang sum natin ay negative 1. And then ang ating product ay negative 12. So ano kaya yung dalawang number? Kapag pinag-add mo ay negative 1, kapag pinag-multiply mo ay negative 12. So what are the two numbers? Nakuhaan agad ni Carlos Cisnorio. So the two numbers are negative 4 and 3. O hindi po pwedeng 1 and 12. Pag pinag-add mo yan, hindi yan negative 1. Hindi po pwedeng negative 1 and negative 12. So ang sagot po dito ay negative 4 and positive 3. Kasi if you will add negative 4 and 3, so negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Okay? And negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Okay. So we have plus 3. Unahin natin yung plus 3. And then minus 4. So yan po ang tamang sagot. And then after that, we're going to equate that to 0. So mas madali na to, no? Kasi tinuruan ko na kayo ng technique. Babalik rin nyo lang yung sign. So we have here x plus 3 equals to 0. And then x minus 4 equals to 0. So ano po ang tamang sagot? What are the values of x? What are the values of x here? X plus 3 equals to 0. And then x minus 4 equal to 0. So babalik ta rin lang yung sign. So the value of x here, for the first one, so dahil x 3 yan, so it will become x is equal to negative 3. O yung kay Daniel, you forgot to put equal sign. So don't forget to put equal sign. So x is equal to negative 3. So the next one, dahil x minus 4, so we're just going to change the sign. Let's make it x is equal to positive 4. Okay? So yan po yung solution. And then the next step, tapos na yung solution natin, meron na tayong value ng x. So we're going to create a number line and then gagawa ulit tayo nung tatlong area. Okay? Ite-trace natin kung nasa ng negative 3. So negative 3 is here. And then positive 4 is here. So ngayon, meron na ulit tayong tatlong area na divide na natin into 3 areas. So itong area na to, anong inequality ang mabubuo natin dyan? So nasa left side siya ng negative 3. Okay, take note po ha. Ang atin pong given, kung mapapansin ninyo, ay greater than or equal. So meron na po siyang equal. Okay? Meron na pong guhit sa ilalim. Ngayon, kapag gumawa po tayo ng inequality, dapat meron na ring guhit sa ilalim or meron na ring equal. So again, ano kaya itong part na to? Anong inequality ang mabubuo dito? So nasa left side ng negative 3. Nasa left side ng negative 3. Ayun, naghanap pa ng symbol yan si Daniel Silva. So tama yan, Daniel Silva. Kindly take a look at the answer of Daniel Silva. So that is the correct answer for the first one. So the answer here is x is less than or equal to negative 3. Okay? This time, meron ng equal, meron ng guhit sa ilalim. Kasi nga, yung given natin ay may equal. Tandaan po yun. Ha? Kasi kanina, di ba, nung una natin given, yung unang dalawa, wala naman siyang guhit sa ilalim yung given. So that's why wala ring guhit sa ilalim yung mga inequality. So the answer here is x is less than or equal to negative 3. Very good. So next one. So how about here? O, nasa pagitan ng negative 3 at 4. Oh, I hope alam nyo na yung pattern, ha? Makuha nyo na sana yung pattern, yung paggagawa ng inequality. May pattern naman yan eh. Lagi nyo lang tandaan, yung pinakauna, yung pinaka-left side, kapag nagawa kayo ng inequality, laging less than. Yung left, itong pinakaunang area, less than. Itong pangalawa, ito yung may pagitan. Yung may greater than but less than. Ito naman, laging greater than. Yun po yung pattern, no? So, less than, itong part. Ito yung greater than but less than. Ito naman ay greater than. Para alam niyo na agad kung ano yung ilalagay na inequality. So here in this part, so we have x is greater than or equal to negative 3 but less than or equal to 4. Okay, so yan po yung ating inequality dun sa gitna. How about the last one? So nasa right side siya ng 4. So ibig sabihin, nasa right side, papuntang kanan. So that is x is greater than or equal to 4. Ulitin natin yung pattern, ha. Di ba after nyo mag-divide, madidivide sa tatlo yan, tama? Yung pinakauna, lagi siyang less than. Yung pangalawa naman, laging ganito yung pattern, greater than but less than. Yung pangatlo naman, laging greater than. So that is the pattern. Okay, next. So tapos na tayong gumawa ng mga inequality. Na-trace na natin. So we're going to test. So let's try first, x is less than or equal to negative 3. O mag-isip po ng number na less than negative 3. So number na less than negative 3. So let's try negative 4, no? Kasi mas mababa sa negative 3 yan. Then after that, we're going to replace the value dun sa ating given. So papalitan lang natin yung mga x dito ng negative 4. Okay, good. Negative 4. So yun, pinalitan lang natin ng negative 4. So negative 4 squared. O kung mapapansin nyo dito na doble yung negative natin. Kasi yung given ay minus. Tama? And then yung ating inassign ay negative 4. So magiging dalawa yung ating negative. And then minus 12 is greater than 0. Okay, next. So what is negative 4 squared? So that is positive 16. And then yung kasunod, negative. And then times negative 4. So negative times negative, what will happen? So it will become positive. So yung negative, and then open and close parenthesis, may negative 4 pa. So it will become positive 4. Kasi nga negative times negative, so that will be positive 4. And then i-rewrite lang natin yung minus 12 is greater than 0. Then after that, so we're going to combine 16 plus 4 and then minus 12. Okay, so the answer here will be 8 is greater than or equal to 0. Tama po ba? I hope you get also the same answer. Now, let's test. Ang 8 ba is greater than or equal to 0? Ang 8 ba is greater than or equal to 0? Of course, the answer here is yes, tama. Obvious naman na ang 8 is greater than or equal to 0. So therefore, yung una nating inequality ay tama. So x is less than or equal to negative 3. Tama po yan. Okay, next. So try naman natin yung pangalawa. So x greater than negative 3 but less than or equal to 4. So kung mapapansin nyo, dun sa number line, pasok dyan yung 0, tama? Nasa pagitan yung 0. So sabi ko nga, kung pwedeng i-assign ang 0, i-assign na agad. So we can assign 0 here, no? So x is equal to 0. And then replace the value. So 0 squared minus 0 minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. Cancel nyo lang lahat ng 0 dyan. So what will remain is negative 12 is greater than 0. Tama po ba yan? Negative 12 is greater than or equal to 0. So obviously, this is not correct. So ibig sabihin, yung inequality natin ay mali. So hindi po natin pwedeng isama sa ating solution set yan. Kasi nung nag-solve tayo, mali po yung nakuha natin. Or hindi tama or hindi totoo. Next one, so we have x is greater than or equal to 4. So ano ba ang number na mas malaki sa 4? So of course, we can assign here 5. Okay? So let's try 5. Then after that, we're going to replace the value again. So we have 5 squared. Then pinalitan lang natin ulit yung isang x ng another 5. So minus 5. And then minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, clarify ko lang ha. For example, we have x is greater than or equal to 4. Tapos nag-assign kayo ng 6. Hindi 5. Okay lang yun. As long as tama yung inassign nyo. Kahit anong number na mas mataas sa 4, pwede nyo i-assign at pwede nyo gamitin for testing. Okay? Pwede kayong gumamit ng 6 dito, pwede rin kayong gumamit ng 10. But of course, for now, we're going to use 5. Kasi yun yung pinakamalapit. Okay, let's simplify. What is 5 squared? So 5 squared is 25. And then of course, simply minus 5. And then minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. O, pakisimplify nga po niyan. 25 minus 5 minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. Ano po ang sagot dyan? So ano po ang sagot dito? 25 minus 5 minus 12. Ano bang 25 minus 5? So that is 20. Then 20 minus 12, so that is 8. So therefore, our answer here is 8 is greater than or equal to 0. So which is tama, no? Katulad lang yan nung una nating naging given. So dahil tama, true naman yung lumabas, 8 is greater than or equal to 0. So therefore, x is greater than or equal to negative 4 is a correct solution set. And we are done. So we can write already all the solution set. So the solution set that we have here, so this will be x is less than or equal to negative 3 or x is greater than or equal to 4. So again, magkahiwalay na naman kasi nga nawala yung gitnang part, no? Nawala yung nasa gitnang area. Kung mapapansin ninyo, ito po. So hindi kasama tong solution set na to kasi nga mali. So ang kasama lang ay ito, itong part na to at saka ito. So magkahiwalay. So kaya kapag nagsulat ng solution set, ganito po dapat yung itsura. X is less than or equal to negative 3 or x is greater than or equal to 4. So that is our answer. And then after that, of course, we're going to graph. So ano ba ang graph ng x squared minus x minus 12 greater than or equal to 0? So given this solution set. Okay, now. So if we're going to observe, meron na po tayong equal, no? Less than or equal and then greater than or equal. So kapag dinetermine natin yung negative 3, so this is negative 3. So if you're going to check, shaded na siya. Katulad nga ng sinabi ko, kapag may equal na, so x is less than or equal, dapat shaded na yung ating graph. So kaya yung 3 dyan or negative 3, shaded na. And since less than yan, so it will point towards the left side. So that is the graph. And then x is greater than or equal to 4. Again, shaded po ulit dapat yan. Ibig sabihin, included yung 4 sa ating solution set. And greater than or equal to 4. So dahil greater than, so the graph or the arrow should point towards the right side. And that's it. So yun po ang ating topic about quadratic inequalities. So I hope marunong na kayong mag-graph, mag-solve, and mag-plot, and mag-identify. So that is only the first part of our topic. We still have another one. Hanggang 11:30 naman tayo. So mas maikli na yung pangalawa nating topic and wala na masyadong solving. Okay? So do you have any question po before we proceed to our next topic? Question? May tanong po ba? You can comment down below sa may mga tanong. Kung wala na, so we can proceed already. Okay, next. So this is our next topic. So we have quadratic function. So kanina, ang ating topic is about quadratic inequality. Ngayon naman, quadratic function. Sir, ano ba yung function? At may bago na namang word dyan na lumabas. Parang ang dami-dami ng term. So don't worry, I will help you in the simplest way for you to understand what is a function. Of course, alam niyo na yung quadratic, di ba? When we say quadratic, yan yung may second degree equation. Okay, so the first part, of course, is what is a function? Ano ba ang function? Hindi nyo lang alam, ang function ay lagi nyong ginagawa. Lagi nyong nararanasan everyday. I think you will not live. Hindi kayo mabubuhay ng walang function. Okay? So later on, i-explain ko kung bakit hindi kayo mabubuhay ng walang function. So ano ba ibig sabihin ng function? Function is a relationship between one variable and another variable. Okay? So ibig sabihin niyan, pag sinabi nating function, meron kang isang variable at yung variable na yun, kung ano man yung variable na yun, yun ay related doon sa isa pang variable. So magka-connect sila, okay? Connected to each other. So yun po yung function, relationship between one variable and another variable. Function is an IPO system. Okay? Ano ba ang IPO? So that is input, process, output. So I hope familiar kayo dun sa term na IPO, Input, Process, Output System. So ibig sabihin kapag may input ka, yun yung unang variable mo. So there will be process and then after that, makakapag-produce ka ng output. Okay? So yun yung function. So I will explain it by giving an example. Okay. Pinakasimpleng example ay remote at saka TV. Okay? Remote control at saka yung television. So merong function doon. Okay? Sabi ko nga kanina, I think you cannot live. I think you cannot live without function. Function in math, ha? So kapag may remote tayo, 'di ba? Yung remote ginagamit natin 'yan by turning on the TV. Okay? So yan yung TV natin. So gagamitan natin ng IPO system yan, input, process, output. So sa pinakamadaling paraan. Okay, yung remote, gagamitin natin siya as an input. Yan yung input natin. Ang input natin yan ay yung point na i-on natin yung ating TV. Okay? Of course, kapag inon yung TV natin, or yung pag inon yung TV ninyo, so there will be process, of course, di ba? Hindi naman yan pwedeng mag-on ng walang process. Syempre. So kapag nag-on tayo ng isang appliances or ng isang gamit, merong process na nagaganap dyan. And of course, ang output natin is the point na nabuksan yung TV. As simple as that, di ba? Input, remote, nag-on. Yung point na pinindot mo yung on, so that is the input. And then kapag pinindot mo yung on, so there will be a process. Okay? And then ang output natin will be the part where nabuksan yung TV. So yun po ang function. Okay? Ano pa? Ano pa yung function? Sa cellphone, okay? Sa cellphone, anong pwedeng maging function diyan? When you are typing in the messenger, okay? When you are typing, yung point na nagta-type kayo, 'di ba may mga letters kayong tina-type. Yung point na nagta-type kayo, so that is the input. Okay? Ngayon magpa-process 'yon, 'di ba? Magpa-process 'yon and then it will appear on your monitor. The point na nag-appear siya sa monitor ng cellphone nyo or sa screen ng cellphone nyo, so that is the output. Very good, Anika. Very good, Anika. So that is one of the simplest um, application of function, yung switch at saka yung ilaw, di ba? Anong input doon? Sige, let's try. Let's use your example, Anika. We have the switch and then the light bulb. Anong input dyan? Try muna natin yung ilaw at saka yung switch, yung light bulb at saka switch. In light bulb and in switch, ano ang input doon? Yung switch. Okay? And of course, kapag pinindot yung point na pipindutin mo yung switch, that is the input. And then of course, it will process. And then ang output, ano ang output? Kapag nag-ilaw na yung bulb, di ba? Pag nag-ilaw na yung bulb. Okay? Ang dami na, di ba? So, electric fan. So, kaya nga sabi ko kanina, I think you cannot live without the function. So marami pa yan, di ba? Sa factory, di ba? Anong input dyan? Kapag meron kang raw materials, for example, may kahoy ka. And then of course, ang process nun, so ilalagay mo siya sa machine, for example. And then for example, after nun, ang output mo, magkakaroon ka ng isang sculpture. Or sabihin natin upuan, for example, di ba? Sa factory, maraming function doon. So yung mga machine sa factory, 'di ba? Kung wala tayong function, it will be hard to produce food, to produce materials. So that is because of the function. Yung factory is one of the examples also. So that is the function. It's all about the input, process, output. Okay? So next, so I hope you already know what function is. And lagi niyo yan ma-experience araw-araw. Kasi gumagamit kayo ng cellphone. So that is function. Okay, so let's have now function as math or mathematics, no? Kasi nga, syempre, we're still talking about math. So we're going to have here a function. Ito pong nakikita nyo equation. So this is an example of a function, a simple function. Y is equal to x plus 1. Okay? X here is the input. Kung actually kanina parang ginagawa na natin yung or even the first week. 'Di ba nagso-solve tayo ng quadratic equation? 'Di ba nag-i-input tayo ng value ng x? Now, try to realize yung sinasabi ko ha. 'Di ba pag nagso-solve tayo ng math in quadratic equation, nag-i-input tayo, 'di ba? Naglalagay tayo ng value ng x. So that is the input. Ang process natin doon is the part where we are solving. 'Di ba sinasolve natin pagka-input natin ng x value, ipaprocess natin siya by solving and then the output will be the solution or the answer. Nakuha po ba? So parang ganun din yun. So we can consider that as function. So again here, the input is the x value or we call it domain. Okay, yung domain, we're going to dig deeper about this in the week 7 and week 8. And then of course, y is the output or the range. So paano kaya nangyari yon? Okay, so the input, so ito na po yung binabanggit ko, no? So we're going to apply the IPO system. So para mas madaling maintindihan yung function. So the input here is the x value. For example, we're going to assign x. So the point na nag-assign tayo ng x is equal to 4. So that is already the input. Again, the point na nag-assign tayo ng x, so that is input. And of course, we're going to process that. So what will be the process? So the process here is where we replace the value of x. 'Di ba we have y is equal to x plus 1. So papalitan natin ng 4 yung x here. So that's already the process. And of course, we're going to solve that. So what is 4 plus 1? So that is 5. And 5 will be our output. I hope nakukuha po, no? So y will be our output. So that is function. So x is the input and then y is the output. So don't forget that. Okay, here. So what if we have y squared is equal to x? Okay, hindi po lahat ng nakikita yung equation ay function. Okay? So that is what I am trying to explain here in this part. So we have here y squared is equal to x. Okay. Now, so for example, kung ang x natin ay 4, makakapag-produce po tayo ng dalawang value. Ano kaya yung dalawang value? Pag ang x ay 4, ano ang value ng y? O quadratic ano lang yan, parang quadratic equation. So kapag ang x ay 4, it will become y squared is equal to 4. So what will be the value of y now? So you will just get the square root. Ano pang value ng y? 2 lang ba? 2? Positive 2? Meron pang isa. Aside from 2, ano pa? Okay, negative 2. Hindi pwedeng 3. Sumobra naman tayo. Aside from 2, ang sagot ay isa pa 3. Hindi po. Hindi po 3 ha. Ang sagot po dito ay 2 and negative 2. Tama? Kasi nga negative 2 squared ay 4. Tama? 2 squared ay 4 pa rin. Ngayon, kapag yung x value, katulad ng equation na to, y squared is equal to x, makinig po ha, kapag ang x value ay nakapag-produce ng dalawang magkaibang y value, that is not a function. It is not a function, okay? Hindi po pwedeng mag-produce ng dalawang y value. Kailangan kapag may isa kang x value, dapat isang y value din ang mapuproduce natin. Okay? In function, x value should have only one corresponding y value. Isa lang. Kapag dalawa na yung na-produce na y, gamit ang isang x value, it's not a function. Okay, explain natin in a simpler language. O, balikan natin yung TV. Ang input natin ay yung on. Di ba isa lang ang magiging output nun? Ang magiging output nun, magbubukas ang TV. Okay? Ang input, isa lang. Ang input natin, nag-on tayo ng TV. Of course, ang output, dapat isa lang din ang pwedeng mangyari sa TV. Mag-on lang siya, bubukas lang. So, try to imagine, katulad dito, ang X value natin ay 4. Nakapag-produce ng dalawang output, ang hirap na magiging buhay natin nun. 'Di ba? Hindi pwede. Hindi naman pwedeng pagka pindot mo ng on, dalawa ang mangyayari sa TV, nag-on tas nag-off. Nakukuha po ba? So hindi po pwede, kaya hindi siya function. O, try natin yung electric fan. Okay. Pag yung point na pinindot mo yung 1 dun sa electric fan, dapat isa lang din ang pwedeng mangyari dun sa electric fan. Iikot lang siya. Tama? So there is only one output. Hindi naman pwedeng pagka-on mo ng electric fan, umikot na yung electric fan, tapos namatay ulit. So dalawa na yung naging output. So hindi po pwede yun. Okay? So I hope po nakuha niyo po yung ibig kong sabihin. So kapag dalawang output given ay isang input, it's not a function. So next. Okay, doon na tayo sa ating pinaka-topic. So maikli lang naman to, I hope. So quadratic function. So quadratic function is a function in second degree. So ganun lang kasimple. So this is an example of quadratic function. So kindly take a look yung itsura. So y is equal to x squared minus 2x plus 1. And then we can use also f of x. So we can read this as f of x or function of x. Pero ang mas gagamitin natin yung y. Okay? So yan po ang itsura ng quadratic function. Now, so we're going to identify, so I have here an example, quadratic function, and not a quadratic function para malaman nyo or ma-determine nyo kung yung given ba ay quadratic or not. Katulad lang nung una nating part, quadratic equation or not quadratic equation. Okay, so this one, y is equal to x squared minus 4. So that is a quadratic function. Pag quadratic function, so meron siyang y value and of course, quadratic yung ating right side. Yung x squared minus 4 ay quadratic. Okay? So another quadratic function is y is equal to 4x squared plus 3x minus 7. Another quadratic function, y is equal to 3x squared plus 9x. Quadratic function din yan. Ngayon, ano ba yung itsura kapag hindi quadratic function? So this one is not quadratic function. X minus 2y equals to 8. Bakit hindi siya quadratic function? So who can tell me bakit hindi siya quadratic function? Kindly comment in the comment section. Okay, walang squared. Okay? So, doon pa lang huli na agad, no? So, it's not a quadratic function. Meron pong y. Okay, meron siyang y. Ayan, no? X minus 2y. Ang concern natin dito, kaya hindi siya quadratic function, wala siyang squared. Very good. Okay, how about this one? Y is equal to x cubed plus 4x squared. Or y is equal to x raised to 3 plus 4x raised to 2. Itong pangalawa, bakit hindi siya quadratic function? O may squared na yan. Bakit hindi pa rin siya quadratic function? So who can tell me? Why is it not considered as quadratic function? Okay, very good. Carlos and Princess. Kasi cube na or 3 na yung degree, di ba? In quadratic function nga, dapat ang degree niya ay 2 lang. O sumobra po yung exponent kasi square cube na. Okay, very good. So, very good. Okay, this one. Y is equal to 12 over x squared minus 1. O yan, may squared naman Ang pinakamataas ay squared dun sa variable. Bakit hindi siya quadratic function? So I will explain this. So this one is called a rational function. Kapag rational function po at nasa ilalim po yung x squared, we cannot consider this as quadratic function. Para ma-consider natin as quadratic function, dapat po nasa ibabaw yung squared. So hindi po pwedeng nasa denominator yung x squared natin. So again, the last example, y is equal to 12 over x squared minus 1. That is not a quadratic function. Okay, let's proceed. So now you know already how to identify if the given is quadratic function or not. Okay, table of values. So ano ba yung pag sinabi nating table of values? So ito po yung table of values. So yung meron tayong x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then y, 0, 3, 8, 15, and 24. So yan po yung table of values. So meron tayong mga values ng x at saka ng y. Ngayon, kanina madali lang malaman, di ba, kapag ang given a quadratic function, kapag may squared or yung highest exponent ng variable is squared, paano pag ganito? Wala tayong equation. How are we going to determine kung itong table of values na to is showing a quadratic function? Okay, let's read this statement, no? Ganito po yung pag-determine, no? If the difference of x values are the same and the second difference of y values are the same, then the table of values shows a quadratic function. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Di ba may nakikita kayo, madali lang tong gagawin natin, magmamahinus lang tayo. Di ba nakikita nyo tong x value? So what we're going to do here, we're going to subtract each x values. For example, 5 minus 4 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, na-meet na natin yung unang condition. So the difference of x values are the same. Tama naman, di ba? Nung minus natin yung mga x value, tama naman. Ang sagot lahat ay 1. But we're not going to stop there. Ang pinakamahalaga dapat dyan ay the second difference of y values are the same. The second difference, yung pangalawang difference, ibig sabihin ima-minus muna natin ito. So 24 minus 15, so that is 9. Kunin muna natin yung difference, no? 15 minus 8, that is 7. 8 minus 3, that is 5. 3 minus 0, that is 3. Sir, paano yan? Hindi po magkapareho. According to our statement, it should be the second difference. Pag sinabi natin second difference, 2 beses natin i-minus. So ngayon, nakapag-subtract na tayo nung una, ito yung lumabas, 3, 5, 7, 9. We will get now the second difference. Ibig sabihin, i-minus natin tong 3, 5, 7, 9. And dapat pare-pareho yung kalabasan. So 9 minus 7 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2, and 5 minus 3 is 2. Yun po yung second difference na tinutukoy natin. And if you're going to observe, pareho na yung difference ng y value. So therefore, dahil pare-pareho yung second difference ng y value, so we can consider this as quadratic function. So ganun po yun. Okay? So I hope nakuha nyo po. So let's have another one. So paano naman to? Tingnan nga natin kung ito ay quadratic function din. So let's try to subtract first the x value. Dapat pare-pareho yan. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 0 is 1. Of course, 0 minus negative 1, that is still 1. Okay? 1 pa rin po yan. Negative 1 minus negative 2, still 1 pa rin po ang makukuha nyo dyan. Okay? Let's try the y value. So wala tayong problema sa x value, pare-pareho. So ang concern natin ay yung y value. So first difference muna tayo. 31 minus 25. So that is 6. And then 25 minus 19. 6 ulit. 19 minus 14 is 5. And 14 minus 10 is 4. O okay lang yan kasi first difference pa lang naman. Dapat sa second difference magkapare-pareho na sila. O tingnan natin. So second difference, 6 minus 6 is 0. 6 minus 5 is 1. And 5 minus 4 is also 1. Now, based on the second difference, hindi po sila magkapare-pareho. So, magkakaiba po. So, since magkakaiba, so we cannot consider this a quadratic function. So, the table of values in the second example shows that it is not a quadratic function. Kasi yung second difference ay magkakaiba. Unlike dun sa una nating example, no kinuha natin yung second difference, pare-pareho. That's why we consider it as quadratic function. So nakuha po ba yun? So I hope naintindihan po, no? So let's proceed to the next one. Okay. Now, so we're almost done. Okay? We're almost done with our topic. Ngayon, we're going to deal with the graph of quadratic function. So don't forget this, no? The graph of quadratic function is called parabola. So yan po, no? Parabola. So that is the graph of quadratic function. Ano bang itsura ng graph ng quadratic function? So I will just show you the illustration of graph of a quadratic function. So these two are parabolas. So these are the graph of quadratic function. So this one and this one. Kung mapapansin nyo, ang graph ng quadratic function is curve. It's like a V-shape. Ito na ay inverted V-shape yung pangalawa. Ngayon, yung graph ng quadratic function, dapat ay open lang siya upward. So paakyat lang, pataas. Or open downward. So pababa. So that is the graph of quadratic function. Sir, paano po kapag ang graph ng quadratic ay ganito po ang itsura? So, parang parabola pa rin po siya pero nakatagilid po. Katulad po nito. Now, this one is not considered as the graph of quadratic function. So mali po yan. Okay? So we only consider this graph, yung open upward, yung pataas, at saka yung open downward, yung pababa. So ito po ang graph ng quadratic function. So that is the introduction, no, of quadratic function. And I think we are done with our lesson. So may mga katanungan po ba? So almost 11:30 na. So I think nakadalawang oras din tayo. So we are done. So thank you so much for attending again for the third time. Same persons ang nakikita ko and same persons are also active. So I commend all of you. So hindi ko na kayo may isa-isa. Yung mga nababanggit ko na pangalan kanina, I hope I will see you again next time. Alam ko may mga natututunan kayo, no? So thank you so much. And we are done with our lesson. So I'm going to end this. So but before that, so don't forget to get the screenshot of this kasi mag-a-attendance po ulit kayo dun sa ating FB group. So I will post later on kung saang post kayo magko-comment ng inyong inyong attendance. Katulad nung ginawa niyo nung first at saka second time. So thank you so much again. So see you again. So meron pa tayong isa pang so we have last one online class for the first quarter, no? Isa na lang. So for the first quarter and then after that we are done. And then again, ang konti pa lang po ng mga nagsasagot sa last dun sa Google form. So if you will not be able, so kung may makakilala po kayo, classmate nyo, na kaibigan nyo, na hindi pa nakapagsagot sa last, pakisabihan po na magsagot dun sa Google form. Kasi if you will not be able to answer the Google form, the last, you will not be able to get a grade. Okay? So mabablanko po kayo. So anyway, again, thank you so much to all who attended our online class. So you can have your early lunch. Okay? So thank you and God bless. Stay safe po.